Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Daily Drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, rowing this thing solo once again. And the topic today is the CFP question. I'll get more into that in just a second. Very quick reminder, this show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. We'll have a word from them in just a few moments. So, the CFP question, I guarantee you people saw what this drop is about and thought, oh my gosh, really? Already talking CFP? And I'm sure there's some people watching right now saying, oh, I really got to see what AJ is going to say, talking CFP in not even the middle of October yet. Almost the middle of October. The reason I'm doing this is because I was on a national radio show Sunday on Sirius XM, college sports station, Channel 84. Barrett Sully, Tom Luganbill. Luganbill did the broadcast on Saturday for Carolina's game against Syracuse for ESPN. And they have a show on Sunday mornings where they recap the day and they bring on various guests. And it's a really, really good show. So they had me on to talk about the Tar Heels and Tez Walker and just kind of where the Heels are at 5-0. And I think it was the last question asked. They asked me about the CFP. And that's why I'm bringing this up, because if national guys like them who have a national forum and they'll talk stuff from Michael Penix in Washington right on down to Tyler Van Dyke in Miami and everything in between, if they're asking about Carolina and the CFP, I think it then becomes a topic that we can discuss. Now, they wanted to know, where are they in that respect? And I gave them an honest answer. I said Saturday night, after the game in the press box, long after, around the time most people were done with their work. Of course, I didn't leave till after midnight. Some of us threw out the CFP topic sort of casually, not a serious discussion. We didn't dissect the schedule or anything like that, and I'm not going to do that here today. But it's out there. One of the reasons it's out there, and I said this in my response on the radio show, because there are opportunities when you look at the national landscape, and I know it's going to change. And I know some teams that maybe don't seem all that solidified right now will be more so in a few weeks because more games will be played. And as more games are played, teams will lose and that pool of contenders will shrink. Happens all the time. But right now, it appears that there might be a door or two open for the 2023 version of TCU. And what I think is interesting is in a conversation I had over in Chapel Hill this offseason with somebody of note, and they said, you know, why can't UNC be this year's TCU? And it didn't sound foolish. It made sense because, as I was telling you guys all off season, the vibe around the program suggested to me that the potential was there for a very significant season. The personnel was very clear that they had enough to have a significant season. The coaching, everybody in place, suggested that that there was enough there to have a significant season. Now all the parts had to come together. So 5 games in, coming off a 40-7 win over Syracuse, it should have been more. Carolina left touchdowns on the field 4 times in a red zone with field goals and then a fumble. Should have had more points. Should have been in the 50s against a good defense, top 10 defense going into the game. I think it's a legitimate question. And now what I was told that they saw as a strong possibility appears to be coming into form. Now, there's a long way to go. Miami could come into Kenan Stadium on Saturday night and beat the Tar Heels. And then the CFP question is out the window. But if they don't, and if this North Carolina team continues to ascend, and I believe they've gotten better every week, including the App State week, a lot of people have fixated on that. It's interesting how some teams get their mulligan game, but others don't. To me, that's North Carolina's mulligan game, but that's also like the last lesson learned needed to shove them into the sea. And about preparation, about a lot of things. It was sort of like the last reminder. You can get beat no matter what, which is why I think it was very impressive that they went into the Syracuse game absolutely raring to go. Sometimes teams coming off an open date. This program has a history of not being great coming off open dates, but they're ready to go. Max said they had 3 great practices during the open week. They practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. So a lot of things are lining up. They're getting guys back. Willie Lampkin back at guard this past weekend. It's clear he's their best offensive lineman, and they're just better when he's out there. Tez had 6 catches, and he didn't practice. He was with the scout team, but they found out he was going to play after practice on Thursday. All Friday was a walkthrough. I know that Chip Lindsey and Lonnie Galloway spent a little extra time trying to write a few things in for Tez, but I mean, he was raw in the sense that he can be raw. Now he'll be in the game plan moving forward. So you add him. So this team is very healthy right now, all things considered. They've added parts. They're 5-0, and they're approaching practices as if they lost the previous week. And they have a manageable schedule. It's a good schedule, but it's manageable. If they beat Miami, then they got Virginia. Virginia's struggling. They go to Georgia Tech, dangerous game. The Ramblin' Wreck is getting better. And if it's the week where they're on the uptick, they become a very difficult opponent. Campbell, Duke at home be a tough game, and then go to Death Valley. Some of us were talking at the Keenan Football Center after the Mac, Chizik, and Lindsey press conferences Monday, and kind of agreed that if the Tar Heels were to play the rest of their opponents that day or today, they'd be favored, or you would expect them to win. I'm going to continue on this in just a moment, but real quickly, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
I'm very excited to announce our new partnership with Underdog Fantasy. We decided to partner with Underdog because it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and it's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Now, Underdog Fantasy has a lot to offer, including their Pick'em game. And in Pick'em, you pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can 20x your money by going 5 for 5. They also have a Best Ball Mania. If you think you know football, definitely need to check this one out. This year's Best Ball Mania has $15 million in total prizes up for grabs, with the winner taking home $3 million. So sign up today with promo code HEAL and get your first deposit doubled by up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with promo code HEAL, HEEL, to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. You must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. And if you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Back to the show.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but again, when Barrett Sully and Tom Luganville asked me that question, it was clear that they've seen something in this team that kind of gives a little CFP vibe. Now, there are probably 12 to 15 other teams that have a little bit of CFP vibe, and there's only 4 spots. So it's going to be extremely difficult for North Carolina to get into that situation unless the Tar Heels simply win their games. If they win out and they have a chance to play Florida State, of course, who knows what will happen in the ACC Championship, because it's conceivable Louisville, FSU, and Carolina are all 12-0. Certainly unbeaten in league play, but maybe 12-0 overall. I'm not projecting that, guys. I may have a couple of coins over here in a cup on my office desk, and I don't think I would wager them that all 3 would go 12-0. But it's a discussion point now because all 3 are undefeated. So I think it's fascinating that here we are near the middle of October. CFP conversation is going on, and it's a lot more legitimate than the CFP conversation that creeped up last year at 9-1. I think the 9-1 team a year ago, if it were to play this team now, this team would beat them. And I think they'd beat them soundly. I think the Tar Heels are a much better football team in all areas now than they were a year ago. And I think others see that. And Luganville saw them on the sideline up close. And he was gushing about Drake May. Who wouldn't? And that's the thing. he might be the best quarterback in college football. People wrote him off a couple of weeks ago, but lo and behold, Drake has more passing yards at this point right now than he did this time a year ago. And I think he's got more weapons. The tight ends are better. The running game's finding itself. I think the offensive line's better. I think the receiving core as a broad group is better. I think the game plan offensively is better. And he has a better defense. So there's not as much pressure to have to score. It's a fascinating question. And it's not one I'm going to fully answer and saying yes or no yet. We got to see more games. But the fact that it's out there is really neat. And it's fascinating. And it's going to be interesting to see how the nation grabs onto this team if they continue winning. Of course, Saturday night could all be a moot point by about 11 o'clock. Or they take one more step closer into this becoming more of a conversational piece around the Tar Heels. If you think the Tar Heels are legitimate CFP contenders right now, you're projecting out, go ahead and click like on this video. If you hope the Tar Heels end up being CFP contenders, go ahead and click like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you know all, and hit the notification bell so you know every time we upload. Tell your friends, your Carolina friends, that we exist. And don't forget to go over to our website, TarHeelIllustrated.com. And for just $8.33 a month, you could be an insider too, and you could be a part of an awesome message board community that is smart, thoughtful, usually respectful. Sometimes some guys squabble, but it's not too out of hand. It's not too childish. And of course, our staff is on there all the time interacting with people. And we post a lot of stuff there you're not going to get on these videos. You're not going to get on our free front page content either. Thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring us, as they have for most of this football season and will continue through the football season. We very much appreciate that ongoing relationship. I'm AJ, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.